And I'm going to pull up my outline. There it is. Let me find the right one here. That was yesterday. That's more like it. Here's our outline for today. I'm going to share that with you in the chat tool. Copy the link, and I'll send that to you in chat. So you'll see what we're going to be covering today. There it is in the chat tool. And get back to screen sharing, and there we are. This is what I'll be doing most of the day. This is Zoom's Superpower. It allows you to show your students whatever comes up on your computer screen so that you can share information with them as you're lecturing. You can put your PowerPoint presentations up here and work through them and present them. You can show your students how to do things in their Canvas course, etc. So this is a tool, Zoom is a tool that you'll find works very well with Canvas, and particularly in a sudden online situation where you have to put, you have to go to a remote instructional mode very quickly and with perhaps not a lot of experience in doing that, maybe not with any experience. Probably the easiest way to transition remotely is to use Zoom, that we're using right now, to lecture in much the same way that you would in the classroom. And indeed, you can do most anything with Zoom that you can do in the classroom. In addition to that, you'll want to post material online for your students in Canvas. Things like lecture notes or handouts, things you would normally give out in class. Your PowerPoint slides, for instance, can be put into Canvas. These recordings that we're making right now in Zoom can be put into Canvas so that your students can view them later. You can also create quizzes in Canvas, homework assignments in Canvas, and asynchronous class discussions that don't require everyone to be online at the same time, unlike Zoom, which does. If you're going to have a live discussion, your students have to be online at the same time as you are, just as we are right now. But using the two together is the most effective way to teach online that there is, and it's especially appropriate when you're setting this up in a hurry, because you can start your remote instruction in much the same way that you were lecturing in the classroom when you were seeing your students 2 or 3 times a week. You can do that through Zoom, and your students can see you and hear you probably better than they could in the classroom. And then you can post material for them on Canvas, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is to give you an overview of what you can do in Canvas and give you above all, I want to show you how to get help with Canvas so that you can figure out how to do something if I don't happen to mention it today, because I can't mention everything about Canvas in 2 hours. And then I want to hit the high spots on how you post content for your students, how you set up assessments, quizzes, homework assignments, graded discussions, and so on, so that you can evaluate your students through Canvas. You can't really use Zoom as an assessment tool for having the students turn in things for you to grade. That's where Canvas comes in. So these two tools will work very well together for you. Got a quick question about the syllabus here. Can I make a copy of it? Yeah, sure. You just click on that link that I put in the chat tool, and it will come up on your screen. And you can print any Windows screen by just doing Control P. Control P. Also, there's probably a file, let's see, print option as well. And you can print a copy of that. Or you can just save that chat, as I mentioned, and you can go back to this document online at any time. It's online all the time. And you can it's freely accessible. You can access it at any time. The last thing I'd like to ask you in the way of housekeeping is to, so I can have a roster of who's attended today, if you wouldn't mind putting your name and email address in the chat tool. I see a number of you have done that already. You've been here before. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, I'd appreciate it. Just type your name and your email address and hit enter and send it to everyone, please, so that I'll get it. And we will, I'll have a record. So if I need to get back in touch with you, if you have a question or something, I'll have your email address. So let's get started on Canvas. Oh, and by the way, I know most of you, I can see here, but my name is Dave Giberson. I'm a retired instructional design coordinator from Online Learning Pathways who's coming back to help out. And this sort of thing we're doing here is one of my things. So I am trying to offer as many classes as I can over the next couple of weeks to help you out in any way I can. Okay, let's go to Canvas. Ah, there it is. This is what you will see when you access the Canvas login screen. It's linked to our Online Learning Pathways homepage. There's a link to it on the district webpage and the quick links. There are links to it in all the websites for all the colleges and continuing ed. But the easiest way to get to Canvas is just to go to the address line on your browser up in the upper left here and type sdccd.instructure.com, sdccd.instructure.com. Let me put that on something where you can see it a little better. I'm working on it off screen. There we go. sdccd.instructure.com. I'll also put that in the chat tool. All right, that's in the chat tool for everyone. Once you get to the login screen, you can log in using your Canvas user ID, which is your 10-digit employee number that the district has sent you any number of times on communications. Everybody should know that. Your password, your initial password, will be your 8-digit birth date. Let me show you that. What I mean by that. If your birthday is, say, June 1st, 2020, what we're going to want is month, month, day, day, year, 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 year in numbers. So, For June 1st, 2020, oh, well, let's see. Since we haven't gotten to that yet, let's make that 1998. How about that? That makes more sense. If your birth date were June 1st, 1998, your password would be 06 for the month, add a leading 0 if there's if it's a single digit month, same with the day, 01, and then the year, all 4 digits of the year, 1998. That's your initial password in Canvas in that event. No dots, no dashes, slashes, anything like that, just the numbers. And that should get you in. If you have trouble getting in, normally I tell you to call Canvas support, but they are hammered right now. So email me, and I try to respond to those requests as quickly as possible, because you can't do anything if you can't get into Canvas. All right. And you already, even if you've never accessed Canvas before, you already have an account on Canvas. All teaching faculty, all faculty with an active teaching assignment or teaching contract or TAO have an account on Canvas. It's made automatically. Same is true for your students. Any fully matriculated student, any student who's actually registered for a course has an account on Canvas already. And they access Canvas exactly the same way you do, with the same user ID and password. They use their student ID, of course, and then their password is set initially to their birth date as well. Once you enter your user ID and your password, you of course just click the login button and you're in. You see your Canvas dashboard. Sorry, I'm pulling my outline back up here. So, once you get in, the first thing you need to know is how to get help. Because if you can get help, you can probably figure out what you need to know in a pinch. At least you'll know what questions to ask. And I see a number of good questions in the chat tool over here, but I can't stop and answer each of them right now, or we won't get through what we need to see. And there are people in here who are looking at Canvas for the first time and do not have any idea how to even get started. So I have to be sensitive to that. I will answer as many of those questions as I can later. And I will be online this weekend on Saturday morning from 9 to noon, and on Sunday afternoon from 1:30 to 4:30, and it's just going to be a free fire question time when you'll be able to come in one at a time and ask questions, and I'll go through them with you. So there will be an opportunity to do all that before you have to go live on Monday morning. So on the left-hand side of the screen here in Canvas, we have a system menu that has some tools that you may need to access in any course. This is independent of your courses. You'll see this in every screen in Canvas. And the most important link on that menu is the help button. If I click that, I find out how to get help with Canvas. Your first and best option is generally the Canvas support hotline, though they may be a little jammed up right now with everybody in the world going online, but they will get back to you eventually. This is a 24/7, 365 service. You're better off calling it off-peak times right now. They're there in the middle of the night. And these are people in this country who are employed by the company that writes Canvas. They're knowledgeable and helpful. So they're a great resource. We also have tons of online help material for Canvas here under the Canvas guides If you click on that link, everything, let me look here. Is everything looking good? Yeah, the screen share is going well. You should be seeing this Canvas guide screen. Here, actually, this has got a lot of different stuff on it, but you want the Canvas guides. And there are guides for you and for your students. So this is a place where you can refer your students when they have questions about how to do something in Canvas. Everything that any student is likely to be able to do or need to do, they'll find the information, they'll find the directions for here under student guides. And the same for you. Just about anything you want to know about Canvas is in these guides somewhere. They're arranged by subject matter. So if you want to know how about making and grading Canvas assignments, you can go right here, homework assignments, and there are just a ton of tutorials phrased as questions here, and you can go in and view any of them, and they're text and static graphics. They're very clear and very informative. So there's not much you can't learn about Canvas from here once you know the question that you want to ask. There's also quite a collection of Canvas tutorials. Here under SDCCD Canvas tutorials, we're adding to them all the time. We're making our own, some of our own to cover local. We're localizing some of those tutorials to make it easier for you to apply what you learn to our systems. Also, we're trying to fill in the gaps that we found in the Canvas guides themselves. But above all, with Canvas, the easiest way to figure out how to do something in Canvas is simply to go to Google and type your question into Google. How do I make a test? Probably help if you spell it more or less correctly, sorry. How do I make a test in Canvas? Press enter. You'll get advice on how to make a test in Canvas from Instructor, from the company that writes Canvas, and from people all over the country and all over the world. And by people, I mean places like Yale, Brown, Northwestern. Lots of people use Canvas. And there's tons and tons and tons. There's almost no question that you can ask Google that it won't give you an answer to. And of course, you can also email me and ask a question. I am a little backed up on my email right now. I'm up to yesterday morning at about 10 o'clock right now. So it may take me a little while to get back to you. So being able to go in and get some of this information yourself will be really helpful for you. You will see when you log into Canvas your dashboard. And on your dashboard, you'll find little colored rectangles, or tiles they're called, that represent the courses that you are or have taught over the last year or so. And there'll be course shells, we call these, containers, into which you can put content for each of the courses that you are currently teaching. These shells are made automatically at the beginning of each semester, whether you use them or not. So you will already have a place to start in Canvas, an empty Canvas shell, if nothing else, to begin with. You can access the course shells just by clicking on the tile, and you'll go in. I'm going to make this one a blank course again, so that we can start from scratch here and see how to do that. But this is what your blank shells will look like. So what can you do with this Canvas shell? what you can do is you can share handouts with your students. Anything that you would normally hand out to your students in class, you can put up on Canvas, and they can access it without you having to hand it to them on paper. You can put any type of computer file just about into Canvas. You can put your PowerPoint presentations into Canvas. You can put recordings of Zoom lectures that you've done into Canvas. Your lecture notes, any supplemental documentary information that you want your students to have, you can put into Canvas. You can assign readings in the textbook through Canvas. So you can provide all sorts of content to your students, along with directions on how to make use of it in order to further their completion of their courses. You can also assess your students through Canvas. You can test them. You can give them quizzes that they can actually take online in Canvas. And the grades will then be submitted to you and dropped into your Canvas gradebook. You can give homework assignments that the students can turn in on Canvas, online through Canvas, which you can then grade and give them a grade in the gradebook. You can assign discussions, class discussions to your students, which they can complete asynchronously. That is, they can go in and participate in the discussion on their own time. And then other people can see that later and reply to them. And they can go back in again and reply, and back and forth and back and forth. You can have quite rich class discussions, really richer than you can usually have in a face-to-face classroom on Canvas asynchronously. People don't have to be online at the same time, like we're having to be online at the same time this morning. Just looking at the chat tool for a second to see if anybody's having any problems. A lot of good questions in there, and I'll get to those in a little bit. So I want to give you the basics of how to do each of those things in Canvas, how to share content with your students, how to give them a quiz, how to give them a homework assignment, how to have them do a discussion. Just to get you started. Some of the details we can handle as we get going. And I'll be here. I'm going to be here right through the end of June. So we can always expand on what we're doing today. But today we're just going to try to get a basic introduction to how to get these things started. Let's start with how you add content to a Canvas course. How do you get stuff in there that your students can view? Your lecture notes, your PowerPoint presentations, and the like. Well, if you're lucky enough to have a friend in your department who's used Canvas before and who has a Canvas shell that has content in it already, you may be able to get them to share it with you. People have really stepped up on that in many departments, I know. That's worth an ask. You can contact your departmental secretary. Well, I know contacting people at work is a little bit difficult right now, but surely they have left directions for people to contact them, and they're forwarding phones and things like that. So, or you can email, and you should be able to contact people at your department, your dean, to see if anybody has content in your subject area or for your course that they'd be willing to share with you. That would be a wonderful step up. And in that event, you could just click where it says add existing content here and load that content into your Canvas shell. If you can't find anybody who's willing to share with you, you may be able to find something useful in the Canvas Commons, which is over here in this system menu bar on the left, just above the help button. If you click the Commons link, you get access to a huge repository of Canvas courses and course content that you can use, that your colleagues from the other California community colleges and other institutions all over the state and all over the country and all over the world have shared with you. You can just go in and type in your discipline, say, you can be fairly specific, like physical anthropology. And you'll see in it resources, in many cases, page after page of resources that people are willing to share with you. These resources vary from a single Canvas page, one page of information that you can share with your students, to entire courses. You can look at these courses by just clicking on the link to them. You can get a preview, you can see the syllabus and lectures and so on. You can look through this, actually access the content, see if it looks like something you might find useful, or even as a starting point to get you into the game. Once you do that, if you decide you like something, you can just import it by clicking this import download button over here. I have a lot of courses. You won't see that many. You just find the course shell you'd like to import this stuff into. I don't want to do that one. Let's see. There, that'll do. And just click import into Canvas or import into course. And the next thing you know, that content will be, within a few minutes, that content will be in your course shell. So that can give you a huge leg up on this. So let's get back to that course. This is just a blank shell we're playing with right now. If a colleague has been good enough to share their Canvas shell with you, they can provide you with an import package file that you can load into your course by just clicking Add Existing Content. Up here, you have to tell Canvas what kind of content it is. In this case, it would be a Canvas course export package. You would have figured that out. You then just choose the file that you want to import. You find it on your computer, click on it, and click Open. Well, you do have to first tell Canvas you want all of the content. Then choose the file and just click Import, and the material will automatically appear in your course shell. But even if you are lucky enough to get some content to start with, you're still going to have to look at that content, delete what you don't want, and add things to it in order to meet the needs of your students in your course. So you also need to be able to add content from scratch to Canvas, or you may just have to do that, period. You may choose to or may need to do that, period. And in that event, you'll just click this Create a New Module button to get started. That will bring up an Add Module box, and all you have to do is give this module a name. Modules in Canvas are just collections of related content and assessment links that are related to one another by being in the same chapter of the book or the same week of the course or referring to the same topic in the course. So you're going to create a series of content modules in Canvas as you add content to Canvas. that will allow your students to find this content and to know what to access when. And often the first module in a Canvas course is will contain information that the students need before they start actually interacting with your content, your course content. Things that you would cover on the first day of class in a face-to-face classroom, like the syllabus, an introduction to you, a general description of the course, and so on. So this module might be called Getting Started. And there we have an empty Getting Started module. You can always get back to your modules in the course by going to the modules link in the course menu and clicking on that, and that'll get you right here. To add content to your module in Canvas, you go to the plus sign over on the right. That's no surprise, right? By the way, if you're seeing a picture of me right up here, and if my cursor is vanishing behind a picture of me right now, you can get rid of that, or you can move that video window. If it's on your smartphone, you can just tap on it and, well, actually you can't, can you? Shoot. I've got my smartphone in here. What if I hold down that for a second? Nuts. Can I get rid of that? Not really. Oh, that's a shortcut. Let me get that out of the way just in case you're not seeing what I'm talking about here. You can click on this plus. Now you can see it for sure. You can click on this plus sign right here, which will add content to your module. And you can add quizzes, assignments, quizzes, files, pages, discussions, and external URLs, web links to this module. Typical thing that you might do here in this Getting Started module is add your syllabus. That's one of the first things you're going to want to provide to your students so that the syllabus is handy and ready for them. They'll need that to look at. If they've lost their paper copy or whatever that you gave them at the beginning of the term, they'll want to have that in here. You can click that plus sign again, and you probably have your syllabus in a file on your hard drive, on your local computer. So you say, I want to add a file, new file, to upload a new file, and then choose the file that you want to upload. You have to find that, of course, on your local computer, be it a PC or a Mac, in Windows Explorer or in the Finder on the Mac. And I have that here somewhere, I believe. See if I can find my files. Yeah, there's a syllabus file. I just select it, click open, and add item. And there's a link to that file. If you come along later or the student comes along and clicks on that file, up the file will come and they'll be able to read it, view it. So that's all there is to putting your syllabus into a module as a document. I'll go back to the modules. You can create what are called Canvas pages. If you don't have something already in a file that you can upload to share with your students, you can create that content right on Canvas in the form of a so-called Canvas page, which is basically a little web page. You just click the plus sign, select page, click new page, give the page a name. I'm going to call this welcome, and add the item. This is a blank page at this point, but you can click on the name of the page that just came up and click the edit button in the page tool. And you go into what's called the Canvas Rich Content Editor. And here you can actually type up a page. You can add text to it, you can add pictures to it, you can embed video, you can add links to content both inside and outside of Canvas. You can make this a rich information source for your students. Let's say this is just a welcome page. What might I put in here? Well, I might put in the name of my course. Just type it in. This is a course paradigm. The material I'm using here is from an old Flex course I used to teach online, but it doesn't matter. It could be any of your content or any of your courses. We can type the text, we can center it, we can do all the usual text editor stuff. We can make it bigger, we can bold it, italicize it if we like. We can put pictures in here. One of the things they really like to see online is a picture of you, believe it or not. They like knowing that you're a person, or being reminded that you're a person, seeing you, even if they can't see you in person. You can add a picture to your Canvas page by going to this tool in the Rich Content Editor here, the one that says Embed Image. Click on that image. You'll almost certainly want to upload this image to Canvas and embed it there. So you can click on this Canvas tab in the image source box. Tell Canvas you want to put this in the files associated with this course. And then you get an upload file button. You just click on that and find the file, find the picture somewhere that you want to use. Select that picture by clicking on it and click open. It's nice you need to put in the alt text so that blind students with a screen reader will know at least what this picture is. Yeah, I think I spelled Boris's name right. Moose and squirrel. And then just click update. And there's your picture, or some reasonable facsimile thereof. You can proceed to write a welcome note to them. And probably a little more information than that, but you get the, you can type anything there you like, and it doesn't have to be big. I can put that back down to some reasonable font size and left justify it maybe, and just keep typing. You can embed video here. Let's say you have a welcome video that you want to share with your students. Or later on in Canvas, you may want to share the recording of one of these Zoom sessions with them. How can you put that into Canvas? Well, you can embed it quite easily. You just need the web address, the URL for the video. And let me just pull one up here. There's my YouTube channel. Let's see here. Search for it. Huh, that's interesting. Okay, I have another way of getting to that. Just a second. Give you a moment to catch your breath there. I'm working offline on another screen. It's useful when you're doing Zoom if you have more than one monitor. Not necessary, but useful. Be right there. That's what I want. Okay, I just got the link, the share URL for a video on YouTube. I can click this Insert Edit Media button, and I can just, in the source box here under the General tab, I can just paste in the YouTube URL from my keyboard, click OK, and bing, there's a YouTube video.
Hi everyone, and welcome.
Students can play it from right within the page. It's YouTube, a welcome video I made for them. So you can put all these different kinds of content into a Canvas page and share it with your students. When you're done, you just save the page, and now the page has become a part of your module, or it's linked to your module, and the students, to see it, can just click on the link for it, and up it comes. So that's basically how you put content into Canvas to share with your students. And that's how they access it. When they first enter your course, Canvas course, by default, they will see your modules. And they can start at the top and work toward the bottom. When they get to the bottom, they're done. Just that simple. Once you've fleshed out your Getting Started module, you can always add more modules using this Add Module button. Let me move that out of the way again. Up in the upper right-hand corner of the Modules tool. And you can make a second module, just like you made the first one, by clicking and entering the module name. Let's just call this Module 1. It could be called anything. It might be Chapter 1, Week 1. You might have a topic with it like that. A topic line with it like that. Just add the module. Now you have another blank module you can use to provide content to your students. You can go to that plus sign again over here on the right. And by the way, if any of this is a little bit small if you're attending on a smartphone, you're having a little trouble seeing, you can pinch zoom these screens. Let me show you what I mean. This is a neat trick, which you too can do. Just need to focus that a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. All right, there's the screen that I'm sharing with you. If you want to see it a little better, you can just pinch zoom and see things more clearly and move it around. So if there's any trouble seeing any of this, that'll help. I see a quick question. It's very germane right now. How do you invite your students to enroll in your course? You don't have to. Student enrollments are done automatically. They're already enrolled in your course shells, even if they can't get into them at this point in time because you haven't published them, of course, or likely. They're already in there. You don't have to worry about enrollment management. That's handled automatically through an integration with PeopleSoft. That's why you have those shells already, and you have access to them already, because that was all done automatically at the beginning of the term. Good question. Do I have an I do have an overhead I have what's called a document camera. That's a trick that, a Zoom trick that I'll go over this afternoon in the Zoom meeting. Okay, now, we can continue to add content to these modules in exactly the same way that we did before. Maybe I found some useful content out on the web. Don't discount that. There's information about your subject all over the web, no matter what your subject is. You may be able to find lots of websites and other resources out on the web that you can use to drop into your course. The Canvas Commons being a great place to look, but you can just find things out on the web as well. And this class was originally about the multimedia technique of screencasting. And there's a company out there that practically invented screencasting and makes the best tools for it and so on. Excuse me. So you might be able to go out, search the web, and find a resource like that, or someone might tell you about it, and you can put it into your course. And I'm working off to the side here again to set this up. I want to pull up this guide to screencasting here. Okay, I went out and I found this on the web. How can I make this available to my students? Well, I can go and I can find the address line on my browser, the web address, the URL for that resource. I can highlight it. I can copy it to the clipboard. And I can get this out of the way. Then I can go to my add item box here, and I can select to add an external URL, a web link, if you will. I have that URL. I just paste that into this box here. I give it a name. In the name box, yep, you're still seeing me. And I add the item. So there's a web link. Linked information out on the web. Click on that, up it comes. Works like a charm. I got a question about what about the little slashed circles over here? Well, that's a good thing to talk about right this minute. Keep those questions coming. If I see something that looks germane to what we're talking about right now, I'll answer it. If I see it in time before it scrolls off. I'll make that a little bigger so I have a chance there. These little slashed circles, or circles with a white check mark and a green circle in them, indicate whether these items are visible to students or not. That's called published in Canvas. If you publish something in Canvas, you make it visible to students. To publish this module, I have to click on that little slashed circle, and that changes to a green circle with a white check. And everything in that module gets published too. So students now should be able to see all of this if they were able to access the course. I can do the same thing down here. So it's important that you publish everything before you make it, before you turn students loose on it. And that is true for the course as a whole as well. If I go to the home screen in the course menu, note that this, if you look over here in the upper right, this course, let me get that, move that out of the way. This course is already published. But I can unpublish it just to show you how to publish it. You can unpublish a course and publish it and unpublish it multiple times until students start submitting stuff into the course. Once a student submits the first assignment or discussion post or whatever into the course, you can no longer unpublish it. But for now, no problem. And to make the course as a whole visible to the students, you just click the Publish button, and there it's ready to go. That is not the only thing that governs students' ability to get into the course, though. Students are locked out of the course until the first day of the term. But that's not an issue for you right now because the term's already running. So as soon as you publish your course shell, your students are going to have access to it. They will be able to go to Canvas, log in just as you did, and see that tile, see a tile for that course on their dashboard. They'll be able to click on that tile and go right in. And the first thing they'll see by default, unless you've set it up otherwise, will be your modules. So they can start working with your content right away. It's very simple for them to get in and know where to get started in that event. How would students know that? Well, we do have information for them on our website, our Online Learning Pathways website. But my advice to you would be to contact your students as soon as you publish your course and give them the information they need in an email to access the course, including where to find Canvas, what their usernames are, what their passwords are, as I've told you, and just give them a little bit of information about how to get started. How would you do that? Well, you can go to your inbox tool in Canvas, which is your email system, if you will, your messaging system in Canvas. All the messages you receive from students, or they receive from you for that matter, will in their inboxes will appear here on the left. To send a message, though, you go over to this little icon right here that's, if you mouse over it, you see that it's compose a new message. Click on that. You do have to select the course you're going to send this email to, because you can only do one at a time. You will not have the number of courses I have to sort through, so it's not going to be as much of a challenge for you. Let me find a course here that has some people in it that I can send to safely. That one will do. Then you decide to whom you wish to send this message. In this case, probably to all of your students at one time. You can select who to send to by going to this little icon. It's over here at the right. See my cursor moving, this little icon right here. And select students to send to. You can send to all of your students, or you can send to individual students, selecting them one at a time. Then you have a subject line and a message body, and you just send. You can type in anything you need to here and just send it, like the Canvas access URL. And things like that. And then just send. This message will go to their Canvas inboxes, but it will also go to the personal email account that is registered for the student in Canvas. So they will get it even before they can get into Canvas. So you'll be communicating with them where they live. You do have to have published your course in order to do that. But if you're not quite ready for the students to actually access the course yet, and you want to just communicate with them right now, you can publish your course for a few moments, send the message, and then unpublish again, and the students will get the message. I'm not going to send that. I'll just cancel out. But that's how individualized communication in Canvas works, the inbox, the messaging tool. Can you continue to add content while it's published, or do you have to unpublish it? No, you can add content at any time. Whether the course is published or unpublished won't affect that. Good questions here. Can you change the order of the items in the modules? Oh, you bet. Let me go back to our course here. This is the one we're working on. Let's say I'd like this welcome message here to be the first thing they see. I can go to this movement tool here and click and drag it up. And you can even change the order of modules if you need to. Good question. How do students upload assignments? That we'll get to assignments in a minute. Again, trying to hit the high spots. Let's see. Well, that's actually a good place to. That's actually about where we're ready to go now. Okay, so you can add content for your students. These files, you can load your PowerPoint presentations in here. You can load your Zoom lectures that you've recorded into a Canvas page, just as we did with this welcome page here, where I loaded a video in. I could just as easily put a Zoom lecture, word I'm trying to pull up in here. That's worth seeing. What if I had a lecture that I wanted to load here? I could make a page into which to embed that lecture. New page. I'm just going to call it video page. You would call it something appropriate. Add the item. I appear to have two of those. I'm not quite sure how I did that. I got it. All right, let's go to video page. It's empty. It's blank right now, but I can edit it up here. Let's see. Can you see my, just barely. You can edit it to embed a lecture. You can just use this insert embed media tool again. Find the share URL for the lecture in question, and that's part of finding that is part of another tutorial or another session, which I'll be doing this afternoon. But let me pull one up here. Let's see. Here's my introduction to Zoom that I did the other day, for instance. Let me find the URL for that. The link. Okay, I've copied that to my clipboard. I just paste it in this source box here. Click OK, and there it is. Now save that. Students can come in through the module. Remember, they go to the modules first when they drop into the course. Click on that page and just play your 2-hour lecture. Okay, if you have wants or warrants. So, adding content to Canvas, all kinds of content you can add for your students. But once you get your content in there, and they've read what they're supposed to read, and they've viewed what they're supposed to view, and they've imbibed all this knowledge that you've provided them in all these different ways, what if you want to find out if it meant anything, if they really got anything out of it? Well, you're going to have to assess that. And the best way to do that online is through a homework assignment. It's probably the best way to do it not online too, but definitely when you're teaching a course online, the most reliable form of assessment is a situation where you give the students like a reading assignment, and then you tell them to write something about it that indicates to you that they understood what they read and that they've had to think about it and internalize it. To do that, and Canvas has a very good way for you to enable them to do that online. I've seen several questions about assignments go by here. So let's see how we create homework assignments for the students. You can do that either from the assignments link in the course menu, or you can do it right here in the module. So I'm just going to do it right here in the module to keep things as simple as possible. I'll click that add button. You'll never forget where that add button is after you do this a few times. I'm going to add an assignment into this module. An assignment is my first option here. And I'm going to make a new assignment. Assignment name. Obviously, that's going to depend on what you're asking them to do. You might ask them to tell you about something they read, or write a term paper, or describe well, up until last night, you could have asked them to describe an outing they had that had something to do with your course. Or maybe something they saw on TV about your subject or something like that. Whatever kind of writing you might need them to do. I'm just going to call this summer vacation. We all had to do that one time or another, right? Add here's our assignment here, but it's a blank assignment. It doesn't have anything in it yet. So I just go and click on the link in the module to that assignment. There's nothing there yet, so I click edit to add meaning to this assignment. I can type instructions on them on what to do. Write 200 words. And if you're asking them to write, it's probably we're spelling it correctly. My mother told me to learn how to type. Write 200 words describing your summer vacation. Okay. Hopefully you'll be able to find something more germane to your subject matter. But that's, you type the instructions in this text box here using that same rich content editor that you used to create the Canvas page earlier, or I showed you to using creating the Canvas page earlier. So you can embed video here. You can even look up video on YouTube in your subject area if you like. And then you assign the number of points that this assignment is worth in your overall scheme. You already have that figured out in your course syllabus, probably. Let's not worry about assignment groups and so on. Just the minimum here. You have to tell Canvas how the students are going to submit this assignment. And in our situation right now, the only viable option for them really is online. They're going to submit it online. They might be submitting it through My Whatever Lab, a publisher's website, but more than likely they're going to be submitting something that they've created independently online. So you select that, and there are different ways you can have them submit this online. You can just give them a text box and they can type it in while they're online. If it's just a paragraph or a few sentences, that's a real good viable option. But if it's going to be a more lengthy writing, if they're going to have to write a little more than that, you can have them create that document offline in Word or whatever word processing program they habitually use, and then upload the file to your assignment. You can even give them both options. and they can pick the one they want. If this is something you worry might be plagiarized, you can have it checked for plagiarism using our UniCheck plagiarism checker, and that information will automatically be provided to you. By default, you'll assign this to everyone. Don't worry about that. You can set a due date using the little calendar icon here, and click on the date you want them to turn it in. By default, the due time will be the end of the day, just before midnight on that day, but you can change that too in this time box down here. Then just click done. And that's the minimum you have to do, and then that's all you generally have to do to create an assignment in Canvas. You give the students the directions on what you want them to do. You assign a number of points. You set this assignment up for online delivery, and you give them either a text entry box or allow them to upload a file, or both, if you don't care which. Set a due date, and you're done. It's ready to go. That's all you have to do to make an assignment that students can turn in on Canvas. The hard part is figuring out what that assignment should be and what you want the students to do and so on, but that's your department, not mine. You got the hard job. The tech is easy. Teaching is hard. So I know I was the classroom teacher for 15 years back in the previous century. So there's the assignment. How do students get to that, you might ask? Somebody asked that a little bit ago. Well, let's go back to, they'll get to it through the modules, which, remember, pop up in front of them every time they enter the course. Now, what you see sometimes and what they see is not the same thing in a course. So you can always see what the students see in your course by going to your home screen. And over here on the right-hand side of the Canvas screen, you'll see an option to go into Student View. This actually logs in a test student that you're provided with automatically with the shell. So you are now a test student in your own course. So you can do whatever those students can do. And the first thing you see here is that, oops, that assignment's not there. Somebody forgot something. I wonder who that was. I think that might have been me. Okay, well, I can't fix that in Student View, but I can leave Student View down here in the lower right-hand corner. And I can then go back in and, what's wrong? I didn't publish it, right? I didn't publish that page either. Okay, now that stuff ought to show up when I go into Student View. I'd like to tell you I planned that. I should have planned that. It's critical that you check your course in Student View before you turn it loose to your students, because you might have forgotten something like that too. We're all a little stressed these days. It's easy to forget stuff, especially if you're in that group of people for whom the coronavirus is the angel of death. I heard it described by somebody at the CDC. Oh God. So I can now go to Student View, and there it is. So the student just clicks there, and they get some information about the assignment, including the instructions on what to do. So they can view this before they're ready to submit. This is what they do first. They go in, they look at the assignment, they say, okay, I know what I need to do. Then they just get out of Canvas and go and do what they need to do. And later they come back to this same point in Canvas and they go to submit the assignment. At that point, they're given the tools down here at the bottom of the page necessary to do that. They can either type out their 200 words on in a Word document or whatever and upload that to you, or they can just type it right here. And submit the assignment. If they've got it typed out in the Word document, I don't have a summer vacation Word document type, but let me just find a Word document somewhere. They can go to File, Upload. They can choose the file they want to upload. Very similar to you uploading a file into one of your modules. Let me just find a document of some sort here that's not too embarrassing or uncomfortable for anyone. Let's see. Well, there's something that's probably not of great interest, but any document will work here. That tells Canvas which file you're going to upload. Then you just click Submit Assignment, and boom. That assignment is now sitting there. The assignment submission is now sitting there in your gradebook waiting for you to grade it. So how do you do that? Well, you'd figure this out very quickly. But the first thing I have to do, of course, is leave student view, because I can't go to the gradebook as a student. Your students cannot see other students' grades in the gradebook. Well, they can only see their grades. But you can see your entire gradebook. It's just a standard ledger type gradebook. And right now there's only one student in there. That's your test student. That student is really you're not going to give them a grade at the end of the term, but they're a real student user in your course. They can do, when you're in student view, you can take tests, you can submit assignments, participate in discussions, and check out how Canvas works as a student. And anything that the student does will be, if they submit something, it'll be dropped into the gradebook. So, fine. Let's go find that assignment. It's here somewhere. Summer vacation. There it is. You don't have a number there because Canvas can't grade this assignment for you. If this were an objective quiz that the students took online and Canvas could grade it, you'd see a number here already. But in this case, of course, this requires your intervention to grade this. At about the point when Canvas can do this for itself, we're all going to have to worry. At least we're not there yet. So to grade this attempt here that the student has submitted, you just click on the little icon. That's what that icon means. The student submitted something. This is an attempt at this assignment. You click on that, and you can click on you can enter a grade manually here, but we're not ready to do that yet. We haven't seen the submission. So we click this little right arrow here to move on into the grading tools. And the grading tool you want is called the Speed Grader. So you just click on the link to the Speed Grader. And there's what the student submitted. Doesn't look like it has much to do with the summer vacation, but okay. We can use our imaginations. Let's see. You can provide First off, you can provide a grade. You can look at that, decide how much credit that's worth in your usual fashion. We put a grade of possible of 10 on it. So you can, maybe that's worth about a 5. If you wanted to give the student some extra credit here, you could actually make that something bigger than 10. Canvas doesn't stop you from doing that. That question comes up a lot, but let's say they got about half credit on it. You can add comments. You can type them in. Or you can do, if you're in Chrome, you can do this, and you have a microphone. Another reason to have a webcam with a microphone in it. You can click this little speech recognition button here. Well, that's not too bad, but I'd like to see a little more detail next time. Good luck. That almost fits the stipulations of Clarke's first law, which says that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. But it works. You can also record a little video for them. If you have a webcam, wrong webcam, sorry. I have multiple cameras attached here, pardon me. Yeah, this one will do. There I am. This is not a great camera, but it'll do. I make sure that Canvas can hear me. I may have to choose the right microphone. Of course, I have to have a microphone. Then I just start recording. Decent effort, but do better next time. Hopefully something a little bit more detailed than that. Then I just save the video, and it becomes a part of the student's record. They can play that back at any time, except it usually takes a minute or so for it to be ready. So this is how you would grade an assignment. And when you submit that assignment, make sure I did that, yep. You can then go back to the gradebook and go to that column in the gradebook, and there's the answer. There's the grade. And the student can see that by clicking on grades. There it is. Clicking on grades when they enter the course. They won't see everybody's grades, they'll only see their own. That question gets asked a lot. So that's how you create a homework assignment. Put it in a module and provide it to your students and grade it. What about a quiz? That's something you might want to put in there, right? Well, you can add a quiz the same way you added an assignment. But quiz. New quiz. Quiz name. Call it new quiz. You'll call it quiz 1, quiz on whatever makes sense for you. Again, this is a blank quiz. I click on the link to it. I edit it. I put in instructions if needed. That ought to be obvious. It'll almost certainly be a graded quiz. You may want a time limit. And you may want to give them multiple chances to take it. If you do, you can specify which score to keep, and you can set the number of attempts. Or you may not want to do that, obviously. That's just an option you have. You can set a due date, just like we did for the assignment. And you set the parameters, the test options. Now, of course, you need to make a test. You need to put something in there to for them to answer. You can type questions in directly by just clicking the new question button. You have a multitude of different file types, or excuse me, question types you can create, multiple choice being the most common. You can type the text of the question. Some of you remember that from the 60s. Looking at you, I can see some of you were around in the 60s. Whereas their error. There we go. Well, then you enter the possible answers. Why not? Was the answer, if I remember correctly. Or volcanoes is another possibility. Or cow flatulence. That adds to the air. Or all of the above. You tell Canvas what the right answer is. It's not smart enough to know yet. By just clicking, just moving your cursor in this column and clicking opposite the right answer to move that green arrow down to the right answer, and then update the question. And you've got a question in there. If you're lucky enough to have question banks in your course that have come in from an old course or a colleague's course or a publisher, and we can, in a more advanced session, we can talk about importing question banks that you might get from a publisher and so on. By clicking on Find Questions here. And I do have some banks in here. Let me just pick one at random and pick a couple of questions out of that bank at random. You can select the questions you want to use and click Add Questions. And you can build your test in a hurry that way if you have those questions available already. You can even, in a slightly more advanced technique, you can even have Canvas pull questions at random from selected test banks and generate a different test for each student. You can tell Canvas how many questions to pull from each test bank to give to each student, and every student will get a different test that way. A good security option online. And yes, if students take quizzes online, they can cheat. If they take quizzes in the classroom, they can cheat. Trust me, I've been worked over by experts. I thought I was a pretty bright guy, but I've had students cheat on me and I didn't know it was happening right in front of my eyes. The ones who are going to cheat will probably find a way to do so no matter what you do or what environment you give the test in, but the vast majority of them will not. Though there are things you can do online to minimize that possibility. One of those would be when you set your time limits for a test, don't give them an unlimited amount of time. If you're giving multiple choice questions, give them about a minute for each question, no more. So yes, they can, while they're online, they can go and look up the question on Google and get the answer and so on. But if you don't give them enough time, they can't do that for every question on the test, and they'll flunk if they try. So tests online are not as insecure relative to tests in the classroom as you might think. That's always an issue that comes up with online testing, but there are things you can do to minimize that possibility. Once you have once you've added all the questions to the test, you just save it. Since we started it from within the module, it's already in the module. Go back here, there's the new quiz. This time I'm going to remember to publish it. And the student can, let me become my test student again by going to the home screen, clicking Student View. The student can take the quiz online just as they would take it on paper by clicking this Take the Quiz button. They're presented with the questions and an opportunity to answer them. This is an essay question. If the student's going to you can, in this case, the student's going to have to type something to answer it. Here I have a drop-down question, online meeting tools. I'm just going to tree this. And those are different question types you can use in a quiz. The student then submits the quiz and said, whoop, you didn't answer a question. Oh, fine. Can you screencast for all the above? So it'll warn them if they forget to answer something. I'd like to tell you I planned that once again. I gave this student multiple attempts so they could take it again, now or later. But there's their attempt. They can go back and look at it, and they can see if they got something correct or incorrect. I haven't given them correct answers necessarily, but you can do that if you want. And they can see that right away by default. So now I'll leave student view. If I go to my gradebook, that submission will be in there. There's the new quiz. And by the way, you can move these around for convenience. And that's not already graded because there was an essay question in there. Canvas has already graded the objective questions, but it's waiting on you to grade the essay question. So you do just what you did, very similar to what you did with the assignment. You click on the submission link, you go to the speed grader, that brings up the student's test attempt. You can see what they did on the objective questions, and then you can read what they entered in the essay in the text box, and that turns out to be the right answer, we hope. You can then put an appropriate number of points here in the question value box, and then update the scores. And there's the grade. So you can't override that here. You change the grade by changing these numbers here for each question. You can add comments just like you could for the assignment. Then you submit that grade and go back to the gradebook, and this little icon up here. And there's the student's grade. And that student so far has a running total, or a running grade, a building grade of just a little over 80%. And the gradebook keeps track of that for you as you go through. So that's the nickel tour of assessment in Canvas, of using quizzes and assignments. This is something you can't really do with Zoom. So this is the sort of thing that you would do with Canvas. You can also create in your course discussions. Let me show you what a discussion looks like in a course that already has one. It's a simulated discussion anyway. You find the appropriate one. That'll do. This one's got a little bit of a discussion for a minute. The students can also always access the discussions through the discussions link. Here's a discussion that has some posts in it. I can tell that by looking over here. And I click into the discussion by clicking on the name of it. And this is how a discussion is basically a bulletin board. you start things off by giving students some direction on what to discuss here. Please post 3 ideas for instructional applications and so on. Then the students each click this reply button here below that, and they get a text box, a rich content editor box into which they can type. They can also embed video, attach files, things like that. But this was a fairly simple task to just list 3 things. This student has done that. All students were able to read that as well as you. Another student replied to that post, not to your original post, but to this post with a question. Here's another interaction like that where a student posted, another student asked a question, and then the first student came back and answered it by replying to the second, replying to this student's reply. And note that these posts are displayed indented below one another to indicate that they're related to one another, that this is a reply to that, this is a reply to that. And so you get a discussion thread that you can follow without having to just look through all the posts to find group related posts. And this allows you to have a very rich classroom discussion, much richer than you can afford the time for in a face-to-face lecture. And you can grade these. I can edit this discussion forum, and you'll see what the options were when you created it. You can set points, the number, you can decide whether it's going to be graded or not. You can assign a number of points. You can set a due date, just like you could with tests and quizzes, and save that. So this is your 3rd form of assessment on Canvas, potentially. You can grade students' performance on class discussions, the classic class participation grade. So in Canvas, we've seen how to add content, how to add assessments, quizzes, and how to add assessments, quizzes, homework assignments, and graded discussions, and how to organize all this content so that the students can find it and get to it. This is a more built-out course where you have multiple modules. Each module covers a section of your course, first week, first chapter, first topic, and so on, and following on. And then there are all the links that the students need for that section of the course should be placed in that module. And they have content, they have assessment, they have quizzes, they have assignments, and so on to complete. And that's basically how an online course works in Canvas. And you combine that with the lectures that you can give them in real time in Zoom, and you can give them a very rich educational experience, even though you never actually see them directly. Well, you may see them in Zoom, but you never actually come into contact with them in the same physical space, which Governor Newsom says we can't do right now. Before it was just a bad idea, now it's state law, or state decree. So you can give your students, realistically, a wonderful educational experience without being in the same room with them. Now, there are lots more things I could show you about Canvas, but that's probably the nitty-gritty that you need to get started. We will be offering more and more sessions on Canvas as we go along. I think I mentioned this weekend I'll be doing question and answer sessions where you can ask all sorts of questions about Canvas or Zoom or anything else you want to know about. The and I'll just work through those questions one at a time. I've got some wonderful questions over here in the discussion, in the chat tool, which I'm going to go and see if I can answer some of them right now. I've got, as I said earlier, I've got a kind of a tight schedule today. I've got another session at 1 o'clock for introduction to Zoom. Love to see you there. Everybody's welcome. No limit. Well, up to 300 people can come in, and we've got, what do we got in this one? 79 right now. So there's room for you all if you want to come. Oh gosh, let me pull up my outline here and see if I forgot anything critical. We added content, we reordered, we did communicate. I showed you how to use the inbox tool. We've seen discussions. Oh, announcements. You want to know about announcements in Canvas. Announcements are just messages that you send to the class as a whole, like putting them up on a bulletin board at the front of the class, and they see it when they come in. An announcement is looks a lot like an email. You just give it a title, you type the announcement. The title's like a subject line, obviously. You just type the announcement. You can attach files if you like, and then you just save it. So that's something you have access to as well. I think we've seen enough of the rest of this to get by for now. Let's go take a look at some questions here. Mistype my own name. Welcome to the club. My mother told me to take typing, and I took band instead. Can I make a copy of your overview? I think I answered that. Yeah, you can just print it right from the from file, print. I think you have that capability, but if you don't, just do Control P. Hold down the Control key on your keyboard, hit P, and it'll print to your local printer. Let's see. Peer review is a little bit too complex a topic right now to take up in an introduction, but we'll do more. There's lots of information about that in the Canvas guides, and we can answer questions about that later. For closed captioning, how long will it take for a lesson such as this length to become available? Fred, if it's put up on YouTube, it's usually about 15 minutes to an hour. If it goes up on the Zoom cloud through the Confer Zoom app in Canvas, it can take quite a bit longer than that. One of the reasons I use YouTube to host my recordings. How can students? We already addressed that. There is a peer review option in assignments, and I can give you a link to the Canvas guide on that. Why did I do that? Go to Canvas guides, instructor guide, and it's going to be under assignments. There it is. How do I use peer review assignments in a course? That'll get you started, and then you can follow the breadcrumbs from there, and I'll put that in the chat tool. Where I am at about 10:16 a.m. in the chat tool. Let me put that in. Answers to everything are in the Canvas guides, just about. Okay, let's go back up. Trying to take these as they came in. I won't get to them all, but I'll do as many as I can. And you can email them to me, and I'll do my best to get through them as quickly as I can. Can I use the camera on my laptop for the Zoom camera? Absolutely. And that would be the least I'm using a separate webcam because I'm on a desktop computer, not a laptop. But a laptop will usually have a webcam built in, and that's more than adequate. It'll also usually have a microphone built in, and that'll be fine too. Somebody complained about their headset. You can also use headset speakers and microphones. That's not usually necessary with Zoom, but they work fine and give good sound quality, but they are darned uncomfortable for a lesson this long. Cassandra, not to worry. I've got you on my list. You've been here before, not to worry. And it's a good list. It's the good list. I don't have a bad list. I don't have time for that sort of thing in my life. How do I publish our class so our students can access it? I do believe I showed you that, but it's worth showing you that again. You go to the home screen in your course, and you'll find this is a bad example. This course is concluded, so there is no publish button. Sorry about that. Let me go back to one that I can publish. This is important for you to do. That's what that announcement is about there, as a matter of fact. Remember, if you don't publish the course, your students aren't going to see it. You hit the publish button, which will be right here. And you can unpublish and publish to your heart's content until such time as students start using the course. Then you can't unpublish anymore. But just hit publish, and it's available to the students, and it will be available at this point in time. It will be available to the students immediately upon you hitting that publish button. So don't do it until you're ready. If we have taken a course in our system, we also have student access to Canvas, both instructor and student access. The courses that you've taught will be on the dashboard along with the ones that you've taken. And your role in the class determines whether you're a student or a teacher. The shells that you're signed up for as instructor, the courses that you're the instructor of, when you enter those Canvas courses, you'll have instructor rights. For the courses that are still on there that you took as a student, you'll still be able to get in as a student, probably, unless the instructor has closed the course and concluded it and caused it to vanish. And you can probably still get in even if they do that, depending on exactly how thorough they've been. So your role in a course is just governed by your status in PeopleSoft for that course. Are Zoom and Confer Zoom the same application? Yes, Confer Zoom is just a Zoom Pro account paid for by the State Chancellor's Office that you get for free. But it's exactly the same as a paid Pro Zoom app that you pay for yourself. Exactly the same capability. Zoom also has a free app that has slightly less capability but that works exactly the same way as well. So there's really no difference. Weight on grades, how to weight your grades, I'm going to refer you to the grading seminar that we do that will go into that. Basically, it involves categorizing the different gradable items in your course, grouping them together in categories, and then weighting the categories. It's very easy to do. And there are Canvas guides for that as well. But I just finished doing a complete grading tutorial or class just the other day. I don't know if I've uploaded it yet. I've got to get to that. I've been teaching 8 hours a day, so I haven't been able to get to some of these things, but I'll get it up there pretty quickly. It's again, you go to sdccdolvid.org. Right there, and go to Workshop Archives, and you'll find them here. And if you want to email me that question, I'll send you, I've got an individual guide I can send you as well. You will want a Confer Zoom account. It's a pro account. A lot of questions on Zoom. I'm going to take those, start taking those, putting those off till this afternoon. Produce and receive images. Okay, this is a good question. Georgia. Georgia Laris. I'm teaching studio art labs. I need to provide and receive images. Gotcha. The capacity limit is one concern once I learn how to do this. Nominally right now, I think they've set the capacity file limits on Canvas courses in our system to 1 gigabyte, which is a lot of images unless they're too big. You know, if the images are not of too high a quality, that's a lot of images. If you have a situation where you need more space, and you won't be alone among those who teach studio arts and photography and things like that, you can request more space for your course. You can email me and I can pass it along, or you can email Chris Rogers at Online Learning Pathways, who's the guy who's actually employed by Online Learning Pathways. And his email address is, I don't want to lose my place in the chat tool, so let me just put it up on the screen here for you. It's CRODGERS, crogers@sdccd.edu. I'll leave that up there for a minute while I read the rest of your question. I suspect I may need to download incoming student images as I receive them. We'll need to learn how to download, and we'll need to know if students will encounter a limit obstacle when they try to submit images of their drawings. That is something that Canvas doesn't limit. There's no limit on the size or number of images that the students can upload. Well, I think there's a 1 gigabyte file limit, but they can, as long as they stay under that, they can upload, they can submit any number of images to you, and Canvas will not cut them off. So that's not something you really have to worry about. To download submissions, I don't have an image submission here, but I do have that submission that we just made in the Gradebook. That was a Word document, so let me go back to that. It works the same way. That was summer vacation, right? I can always go back and regrade this or review it. Go to the speed grader. It's worth looking at that again anyway. All right, here's the file, and if they had submitted an image file, you'd see the image right here. And there's a download link right there for the file. So you can download those image files. You can even periodically make sure your computer's you can do without your Canvas for a little bit, but you can even periodically, if I go back into your account tools here, account settings, no, yes, the account settings area, you can download all of your submissions in Canvas right here in one lump. It's going to be a big file. Make sure you've got good bandwidth to download it, but that's another way you can do that. Whiteboard option in Zoom. I'm going to take those Zoom questions this afternoon. Is it possible to show the URL? Missed how you got there. I'm hoping you mean Canvas. Here's Canvas. sdccd.instructor.com. Made up word, be careful. We've had a lot of people mistype that and have trouble getting in, so watch that one. Oh, Harvey, you're having trouble with the whiteboard in Zoom. Well, that's something we'll look at this afternoon. I haven't tried it today, but the last time I tried it, it worked okay. To date, I've been unable to find a tutorial suitable for adult non-credit ESL level 3 students. Have any tutorials you can recommend? I presume you mean for students. Those offered so far have been way too complicated. I can give you a good basic student overview tutorial for Canvas that tries not to go into too much detail or too much tech. You can find that in the Canvas guides under the help button, Canvas guides, and go to the video guide. And there's ones for students here, and there is a Canvas overview for students that kind of just generally covers the entire system. I'll put that link in the chat tool. Let's see, I'm at about 10:55 there, so I can get back. I'll keep this up as long as I can, folks, till my wife comes and grabs me by the ear. There's that link in the chat tool. It's at the bottom of the chat tool. Remember, you can save that chat tool or chat log so you can keep that. That's a good resource for your students. We also have a section on our website, the Online Learning Pathways website. www.sdccdonline.net. I'll put that in there. That's in the chat tool. And there's all sorts of login help for students, information about Canvas, how to get to Canvas, how to get training, so on, all that here on our website. So those are the resources we have right now. If there's specific issues that your students are having problems with, if you'll let me know, we'll see if we can find something that will be more focused, more specific for them. Oh, we're getting through this. How do you invite your students to enroll? You don't have to. I think I already answered that. They'll be enrolled in the course automatically. To show them how to get in, you can send them an email, and I showed you how to do that as well through Canvas. But remember to publish your course at least briefly before you try to do that. Do you have an overhead camera, or did you use another phone to cast your notepad? That's a really good question. Something, again, we'll talk about in the Zoom session. But yes, close your eyes for a second. I don't want to make you seasick. I'm going to point my main webcam at that camera. Okay, it's safe to look. That's the little camera, the little document camera I have. You can buy something like this. The current equivalent of that can be bought on Amazon for about $100. Or you can make one, and I say this because this is something that any of you are likely to need. This allows you to lecture at the whiteboard, if you will, or it's the equivalent of lecturing from the whiteboard in your classroom, because you can just put a legal pad down below your camera and write on it, and your students can see you do it, or a sheet of white paper, whatever. You can buy these from Amazon, or you can make one, or a rough equivalent of one. It's called a document camera, of course. We have a tutorial on our on-demand site that will show you how to make one with your smartphone, a ruler, and some weights and boxes. And they work pretty well. Let's see. I talked about publishing. Thank you very much, Carol, for asking that very timely question. That took us just in the right direction at that point in the presentation. How do students upload assignments? I showed you that. Can you change the order of the items? Yes, I showed you that. Can you change the order of the items in a module? I showed you that. As you continue to add content to your shell while you're building it, do you need to continue to click on publish? Yes. Just make sure everything's published before you turn it loose on the students. Students should review their email and their profile. I did not mention that. Thank you. That's Leonore. Thank you very much. The email to which Canvas will forward on any messages that you send to your students is covered or is set in your account settings, which you get to from the let's see, I am still sharing my screen. Yes, I am. Yep. I'm looking at I have my smartphone in the session here so I can tell if I'm showing you what I think I'm showing you, and I am. But you click on the account link in the system menu and go to settings, and the email address, and let me get this out from under that video window again. The email address or addresses that are associated with your Canvas account are showing right up here in the upper right hand corner. It's critical that this email address or addresses, at least one of them, be an email address that you are currently checking. Otherwise, Canvas is not going to be able to communicate with you that way, and you're not going to be able to communicate with your students that way. So it's a good idea to mention to them and we do have this in our student documentation somewhere and so on, but I would remind them of this in an email that you send them, to look at their email address under account settings and make sure it's one that they're currently checking. And if it's not, they can add an email address that they are currently using, and Canvas will send to that address, as well as trying to send to the others. You can also delete email addresses that you no longer need. So the students may need to do some management here, and we do have a tutorial for them on that online video site that will show them how to do that. And there are Canvas guides that will show them how to do that under the student Canvas guides. But that's important. Thanks, Leonore. When sending email, how do you know which student is number 1 or 3? The student names that's not going to be an issue. When you're sending an email, you'll see their names. Those were just test students that I put in, and I just named them student 1, student 2, student 3, and so on. But you won't have that problem. You'll see their names. Dave, when I add an assignment, it takes me to the gradebook. The gradebook, yeah. Oh, I see. You're adding it through the assignment tool. Yeah, Mohammed, that's normal. How about assignments that need drawings and math formulas? Drawings, good question. Thanks, Fred. That's an excellent question. What if you wanted to give your students an assignment and you needed to have some mathematical notation up there? Or if you needed to provide a drawing that you had drawn out on a piece of paper to them, how could you do that? Well, you could let's go into a course here that I can muck around in. Some great questions. I wish I had time to stay the rest of the afternoon and answer them. I will be here on Saturday and Sunday to do just that. Let's add just make an assignment here. A new assignment. Yep, I have to give it a name. Fred's assignment. And go and make the assignment, edit it, and you get this editor here. We got really two different questions here, Ed, Fred. What if you wanted mathematical notation in the assignment instructions? Well, you do have a math editor built into the rich content editor. It's not the most powerful one in the world, but it will work. So you get basic symbols, Greek symbols, operators, relationship symbols, arrows, delimiters, miscellaneous math symbols. You can enter any of these math symbols in there. Like if you want square root symbol, square root of 2, then we can add an operator. That'll be under basic one. Yep. Plus type of number 5 equals, and so on. So you can insert, and then you can insert the equation into your test or into your assignment. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to write it out on paper, take a picture of it with your smartphone, and then embed an image into Canvas, course files, upload the file. And I don't have anything just like that in my pictures, I don't think, but I'm just going to show you how to, again, how to embed a picture. And update. And there's something that sort of looks like at least it's a graph. So you could do it that way, using that smartphone camera that you have. You will have to know how to get that picture out of your smartphone and send it to yourself. I think most of you have probably done that many times, sending photos to your kids and things like that. And you just send it to yourself and store it on your local computer and upload it to Canvas as an image embed. So that's probably for things that are difficult to put on the computer screen. The easiest way is probably to type it out or to write it out or type it out on, well, write it out on paper and take a picture of it and upload the picture into Canvas, into a Canvas page, or the instructions for an assignment, as I'm doing here. Good question. And I can take one more, and then I've got to go get some lunch. No need to use a Dropbox folder as an external tool for receiving assigned drawings. You can just have them sent to Canvas. You don't really have a limitation on that. And once they're in Canvas, they're never going to go away. They're backed up to within an inch of their lives. That's true in Dropbox too, but it's nice to have if you have it in Canvas, you have access to all the grading tools and all that, Georgia. So it's better just to have your students upload their images or their submissions, their homework submissions, right into Canvas. Can you show us how to give a quiz that's automatically graded? If your quiz contains only objective questions, multiple choice, true, false, matching, fill in the blank type questions, Canvas will automatically grade it. you don't have to do anything to make that happen. It will grade it if it can. So if you want the test to be graded by Canvas, just don't put in any essay questions or other subjective question types that would require your input to grade. And I'm going to have to leave it with you at that. I'm going to unshare my screen here and see how many of you have survived to this point. Oh, we've still got participants. We've still got 46 people. My goodness. I hope you found that helpful. Remember, the rest of those questions, if it's something that I haven't covered in the interim, please email them to me. Again, my email address, I'll put it in the chat tool one last time, dgibberso, no N, at sdccd.edu. This I like to say the district couldn't afford the N on the end of my name there. You're familiar with that limitation. And send me those emails. I'll be working on them every minute I have that I'm not online. So we're trying to get everything ready for you. And just one last thought about Monday. Not everything's going to be ready or perfect on Monday. Just don't stress. Your students understand that this is a sudden thing. I really don't think they're going to expect perfection right offhand, and you shouldn't either. Do your best. Meet with your students on, yeah, my wife just came in and is about to drag me off. So let your students know that you're all in this together, that you're making this up as you go along, but that it's going to be fine, and that you'll be patient with them if they're patient with you, and just ease into this. It's not going to be full-blown, perfect, ready to go. If you're just starting this week, it's not going to be perfect on Monday. Just get in touch with your students as quickly as possible, reassure them, give them needed information as much as you can. And if you need more information yourself, get in touch with me or with Online Learning Pathways or Canvas support. And we'll work into this gradually, and it'll get better each day as we go in. Just don't feel like it has to be perfect on Monday, and don't stress. This is going to work. Actually, in the long run, it may actually be fun. So take care of yourself, be safe, obey Governor Newsom's guidance. I think it's probably very good. I wish our governor up here had that kind of sense. And good luck to us all. You take care. Bye-bye. And I'll probably see some of you this afternoon. Thanks for coming.